when you're cutting their toenails, cut them straight across, not down in the corners. Some people over the years have been told to rip the toenail off with their fingers or even bite the toenail off. Their things you should never be doing.
You're listening to Parents You've Got This, the expert guide to parenthood. The complete guide to fertility, pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. This podcast is proudly supported by Mistela, a natural origin skincare for babies and children, recommended by healthcare professionals. Mistela by Parents' Side since 1950.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast with your host, Christy and Freya from Parents You've Got This. This week, we're going to be talking all about your children's feet. We are joined by Podiatrist Julie Rovas from Albert Park Foot Clinic. Thank you so much, Julie, for being here today and for talking to us about this topic, which doesn't see enough attention. I think as parents, we stress about the development of our children's feet and all the different things that can happen to them. And we are so excited to bring some reassurance and some perspective to parents out there today. So, Julie, how do children's feet develop over the growing years?
Basically, when babies are born, they've got wide, flat feet and they have soft bones and the bones have growth plates. The soft bones allow for the baby to be pushed through the birth canal, and the fatty padding around the child's foot is about protection. As the child stands and starts walking, so anywhere from 7 months on, 8 months on, you'll notice that their feet are very flat and wide as they hit the ground. Now, the reason for that is for stability and balance. So when you think about it, you have a child with a foot on the ground which has a large surface area in contact with the ground. Think about that as opposed to walking on a stiletto. When you're walking on a stiletto, you're much more wobbly, prone to falling, tripping, all the rest of it. Whereas when you're in your big, wide runner, you're not as likely to trip. So that's the reason why their feet look wide and flat. The second thing that you'll notice is their feet are far apart and they're also turned out. This is again to stop them from tripping, to improve their balance while they're learning to walk. So what that means is when your feet are further apart, you're much more balanced. You're not as likely to fall. What I would compare that to would be walking on a tightrope. So when you're walking on a tightrope, you're more likely to fall as opposed to walking in that way. Now, this at its worst is at 4 years old, and then after 4, the fatty padding starts moving away and the legs start straightening up. So after 4 is when you can expect to see arches in their feet and feet straightening up and coming closer together.
Oh, fascinating. Amazing. So, Julie, can you talk to us then as a podiatrist, what are some of the common foot conditions you see?
Oh, a lot. So sometimes we see things like parents are just concerned about flat feet, or a grandparent has said, Johnny has got flat feet, we think you need to get a check. So sometimes it's about assessing the child and reassuring the parent that this is a normal part of development. Sometimes if it's not, then we can look at what we need to do. But things that may not be normal are when one foot's turned in and one foot is straight, so that we need to investigate further. Things like ingrown toenails is a big one, and it happens in children of all ages. We've even seen babies with ingrown toenails all the way through to older kids. You can see malalignment of toes, small bunions forming. So we've even seen them in 5 and 6 year olds as well. Sports injuries, obviously, growing conditions. Severs is one of the ones that we would see a lot. What else do we see? Even corns, calluses, warts is a big one. Tinea is another one. Oh, warts is terrible. Warts are terrible. Poor kids. And then things like problems with shoes. Shoes don't fit properly. Toe walking, in-toeing. So lots of kids will come in with in-toeing as well. Toe walkers, also kids that don't get on the floor. Yeah, I think they're probably the main things we see.
So, Julie, how as parents should we care for our children's feet? What are some good tips and how do we set up good life habits?
Okay. So things to think about is when you're cutting their toenails, cut them straight across, not down in the corners. Some people over the years have been told to rip the toenail off with their fingers or even bite the toenail off. They're things you should never be doing. Always straight across. If they are brittle, then file them instead. Filing regularly can stop the breaking of nails as well, just because it's more gentle. So cutting straight across and not too short is really important. Washing them, so soap, water every day, getting in between the toes and then drying them properly. So that's a really good thing. Then other things to think about are the types of shoes that they're wearing. Make sure they're fit for purpose. So things like if they're going running, don't run in thongs, run in runners. Now, with children, because they're growing so rapidly as well, it's hard to have shoes for every different sport or activity that they do, but try and choose something that would fit with a lot of their activities anyway. So shoes is good. The other thing is if children are growing out of their shoes, then change them. Don't hold on to them for too long. So if they're right at the end, then they might develop problems. It can also cause pressure on soft bones. It can cause malalignment of toes, all the rest. So just be careful with that. So and wear socks at all times, and preferably natural, so cotton or wool would be good.
Julie, often with little toddlers, you see them tiptoe walking. When does this become a problem?
So probably about 24% of children will tiptoe, and it's quite a normal part of development. Most of them should have grown out of it by 3 years old. So if they don't, then I would take my child for an assessment. If this is combined with a neurodivergent child or clumsiness, tripping, falling, then I would definitely take them for an assessment to a health professional, podiatrist, GP, pediatrician, physio. The reason why they toe walk is bones grow really quickly. Muscles and tendons grow a lot more slowly. So if you're thinking of the calf muscle that inserts into the back of the heel, if that's really tight and the Achilles tendon is really tight, so what happens is you've got the calf muscle, Achilles, and then that inserts into the heel. If that's really tight, it's much more comfortable for the child to get up on their toes, because when they're going down on their heel, then it will cause a lot of pressure on there. So the thing is that you can encourage gentle calf stretching, gentle massage, all the rest of it. You can even put plates in shoes to try and get them on the ground, or make sure that they're in rigid shoes as well. But most of them will grow out of it by the age of 3. And if not, then they definitely need an assessment. And sometimes it's familial. You'll have the dad walking the same way as the son, then the daughter will be walking on their toes. So sometimes it is familial as well. And
the whole family comes in. You're like bouncing. Thanks all for coming to see me today. Got to be belly dance as well. Sorry. What about flat feet, Julie? When is this a problem? I mean, you said that babies start off with them, and I love how you talk about the little squishy feet of newborns. But when is it a problem for little ones to have flat feet?
Okay, so flat feet, when we're looking at feet, you'll have people with flat feet, normal arch and high arches. So that is normal as well. As we said before, up until the age of 4, feet are flat, and then they start, the fatty padding starts moving away. The time that I would be concerned about flat feet is if they suddenly become flat and they haven't been flat before. If one foot's flat and the other one's straight, so if they're walking in that kind of position, if they're causing pain, if the child's tripping, if they're anything to do with their feet. So flat feet, they will normally grow out of. If they don't grow out of it entirely, it might just be the way that they're created. So you can't do anything about that. But when I would be concerned is pain, if one's flat, one's not, if it happens all of a sudden. And the other time would be when you see their legs and their legs are straight, if they're collapsing down through the knees, the feet, even the hips. So if you see the whole middle part of their legs pushing down, so that's when I would get an assessment.
So is bare feet wearing, if you can call it that, is that important to let our kids wear bare feet?
Definitely. So what we talk about is while the child is growing, developing at home, in your backyard, for example, at the park, bare feet is best. We've got long and short tendons and muscles in the legs and feet. So the long muscles start just below the knee. They go all the way to the foot. The short ones start below the ankle and go all the way to the toes. What happens is when we're not wearing shoes, those short muscles are the ones that work a lot. So they're the ones that have the small movements in the foot. As soon as you put shoes on, they don't work as much. So it can hinder the development of these small muscles. So barefoot is always best. However, if you're walking out on the street, you need protection, and that's when you need shoes. So there's lots of hazards on the road, and you don't want your children to be walking on the road in bare feet. But as much as possible, bare feet unless it's necessary.
Want some extra tips to help you navigate parenthood? Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass. Visit www.parentsyouvegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
Julie, what are some signs of foot pain in little kids?
Clutching their foot, telling you it's sore, limping, unable to participate or unwilling to participate in activities, redness on the skin. Did I say limping? I can't remember. Yeah, limping is a big one. Being uncoordinated sometimes can also be a sign. Even tripping can be a sign of pain.
And so when should parents bring their child to a podiatrist?
Pain, obviously, sport injury, any type of injury, sports injury, whatever it might be. Some people will just bring them in because grandparents have said they've got flat feet and we think you should get them checked. And parents have got enough on their plate without having to think about, is it normal, is it not? So we all encourage parents to bring kids in if they are flat and people are commenting on it. Sometimes you just need reassurance, and 80% of cases would be reassurance anyway. Any skin changes, so tinea, warts, like we said. If you're getting knobbly toes or toes that are out of alignment, if you're seeing bunions forming, like we said before, if everything's collapsing, knees are collapsing, feet are collapsing. If there's uneven shoe wear as well, so if one shoe is worn out on the inside, the other one's worn out on the outside. I think anything that you're concerned about when it comes to feet, even legs, if there's any concerns, in-toeing is a big one as well. So if the child's walking with both or one foot that's pointing in, there's lots that can be done for that. If they're continuing to walk over the age of 3, I think any concern that you might have is worth bringing a child in for an assessment.
So, Julie, at what age do children's feet stop growing?
Okay, for girls it's about 14 or 15, and for boys it's 16 to 18 years old. So you can stop increasing the size.
Not checking so regularly the shoe fit and 16.
Changing. You've got a lot of time.
Yeah. And if you are to take your child to a podiatrist, what does a typical podiatry checkup look like?
So first we would take an extensive history. So we would be looking at the child's medical history, developmental milestones, when they started walking, birth, talking, etc. Then we would be looking at their family history of foot and leg conditions, if there is any, and we'd be looking at their shoes activities. Then we'd be asking about their presenting complaint. So what have they come in for? A rash, an injury, a pain, whatever it might be. We would then assess, depending on what it is. So if it's a sports injury or a repetitive injury or a growth type of thing, we would then look at them walking, check the alignment of their legs and their feet. We would check their range of motion of the joints, so see whether they're hypermobile or loose or normal or stiff. We would then be looking at the toe alignment, and then if it's a skin problem, we would also be looking at skin and nails. It really depends on what the presenting complaint is. how extensive that examination would be. But there's been many times that while we're looking at someone's child walking down the corridor or checking the range of motion, you see a great big wart under the foot that's been missed. So you examine everything, and anything that's not normal, we would be examining further, even if that's not a presenting complaint. And then after that, we would come up with a treatment plan. So if it's an ingrown toenail, we would generally try and conservatively treat it, so tidy it up, make sure there's no nail spikes there, then advise on what to do at home, so correct nail cutting, etc. Possibly review them after that in a few weeks. If not, then what you would do is the parent looks after it. However, if it's not resolved, then we can look at surgery. So sometimes it's just as easy as tidy it up, go home, look after it, never see you again. Sometimes it's more ongoing, and the same can be said, for example, something like severs. I don't know if you've heard of severs, but it's a growing kind of condition. It can be as easy. So severs is a calcaneal apophysitis. So during rapid growth with children. And sometimes it'll be as easy as you need to get shoes that are in better condition or more shock absorption, put a heel lift in their shoes, and sometimes you'll have to progress to orthotics, etc. So it depends on what they're presenting with, what the treatment plan would be. But a lot of the time it's just reassurance that Johnny's normal and it's a normal part of development as well.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for coming in on the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast to talk to us all about feet.
Thanks for having me.
A huge thanks to Mistela for sponsoring this episode. When we become parents, we welcome any tips and tricks that can make our lives easier. With Mistela's skincare range, you can have peace of mind knowing that they're specially formulated to be suitable from birth for babies and children. Each Mistela product undergoes 450 safety tests and measures and is dermatologist and paediatrician tested. Mistela is our family's favourite.
You've been listening to the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. Tune in to our other episodes. We have an episode library with more than 100 episodes. So whatever you are looking for there, please check it out. And if you can't find it, then DM us and we'll make an expert to answer your questions. Never forget, parents, you've got this.
Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass today to be prepared, excited and educated for pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. Visit www.parentsyou'vegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
The information provided in this podcast is general in nature and is intended to support, not replace, a discussion with your doctor or healthcare professional. Parents You've Got This take no responsibility for any medical decisions made by individuals based on the information provided in this podcast.